and Austin giving it back a shake. So, have you played these players before, Jesse? What do you think? I mean, do you think Alec or Austin has the advantage here?
I've played both of them. More recently, I've played Alec. There was a smaller event that was held in Vancouver earlier this year, and Alec happened to attend because it is relatively close to where he lives in Seattle. So he came, and Alec is, as you will see in this game and in any game that you see, he's a very strong player. He is one of the best players that we have in the Collins tournament scene in North America right now. Uh, so he's exceptionally strong. Austin, of course, has played for a long time uh, as well. As I mentioned before, he's played for the UK and more recently the US. Also, an exceptionally strong player. It's really hard to say who I would give the edge to specifically, just because they're both so good. As a point of note, Alec has won in both NWL and in Collins at this event, so that's a little fun point. Austin, however, has won this event in Collins as well in the past. So both are storied players. They are both decorated players at this event specifically. So it is a really good first matchup between them. I might give a very, very, very slight edge to Alec just because of recent momentum, but that is no indication of any difference in skill necessarily. They're both excellent players. So I'm looking forward to a great match. How do you feel about it, Weibin?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit biased now because Austin has just started with hairline, but now I look over at Alex Tiles and he has like basically he's going to respond with a bingo. So I think it's going to be very close between the two of them. I know. I mean, for me, I have not seen Alex play as much internationally, and I'm hoping that to see him at the Causeway in the future. But I know these two players are just yeah tremendous, just fantastic. So looking forward to a great game. And yeah, so back to Alex's turn now, and he does have uh, many bingos available. So he started off with PRC, keeping NRS, and Austin immediately responded with hairline. And now he has pulled the blank. So in the chat, suggestion of raisins. That is the highest scoring play. Um, One of the other options is, of course, to call the blank. If you call a blank an H, you actually have Arshins, and you can hook uh, the H behind Perk as well, Perch. But that scores 1 point, one fewer point. Yeah. So I think it's probably among these options. You can also do a four timer through the L, something like wrestling or rainless. But yeah, in this case, I probably see. I think you can just play raisins.
I think it certainly in the scoring sense, is right at the top there. And no matter which of the double doubles that you play, be it there or through the L, you're always going to give back at least one vowel that could have a high counting tau in response. So I think it's really just a matter of taking the score. I'm good with raisins here in that case. Sure. And Austin's already got ojon or ochon, I think is what it is a variation of. I forget. I try to remember the definitions sometimes when it helps, but I believe this is an interjection that he has lined up on his rack.
That's right. He just had honorees blocked by raisins, so he probably is gonna look to play his H off, maybe around the A of raisins. Probably I would consider playing OOH. So blank camera is there, and we see that the I was circled, so raisins. Alex best play right there. And yeah, Austin taking some time to think about this play. Um, I think it's usually the non-bingo plays that need more time to think about because You just want to make sure you're not missing anything. Uh, and he is lining up OOH, which seems like a good balancing play. So what would you do in this situation?
I would have to agree with OOH here, honestly. It scores pretty well. The leave is very nice. There's so many consonants, and the A actually is a pretty good vowel to blend with those, assuming you're going to play an eight more often than not. Unless you do have the line under hairline to play hairlines and a seven ending in ease, I think you just set yourself up for success a lot of times by playing that and scoring. So I'm on board with that one for sure.
Yeah. Back to Alec now, and he has, well, two eyes and kind of, I mean, the W, so he's looking at playing WAID somewhere, but it's not a great rec, really. He's just probably trying to play as many tiles as he can, get rid of, yeah, he probably wants to get rid of the W, um, one of the eyes, hopefully, unduplicate the D. Um, yeah, I mean, interestingly, on static evaluation, the top play is WOAD, which hooks onto HA of raisins. So it keeps two eyes. But I'm not sure whether he will do that because I think keeping two eyes is not going to be great for a rack. So he might be playing WAID instead. Uh, we'll see. I mean, it's an interesting play, I think, and not a very clear, not one that has a very clear answer.
It's a challenging one, for sure. I can understand why Woad would likely be further up, the WOAD play you mentioned that makes Aura and had. It may be because relatively early in the game, there have been three eyes already played, and he's got two more of them, so that leaves only a handful more with lots of letters. But I would be hesitant as well, like you're saying, to keep those two eyes just because of the potential for, well, further duplication, one, but just based on the letters that are left, they just don't blend all that well together necessarily afterwards. ID, so I'm not sure I would go that way as much as it does score really well. I think that's
Yeah.
really the question is the alternatives, right? If you don't do that, then what scores reasonably well that does balance a little bit better in this case? And that there is an immediate answer to that. You know, Woad certainly is amongst the top candidates for scoring alone. But then, as you said, balance is important too.
So he's looking at BAWD, which also plays alongside the raisins, which scores even more, but you keep IIO. So I'm actually running a simulation, and it seems Wood is still, retaining the top position. Um, Wade, which plays off one of the eyes, is a 6 point sacrifice. And yeah, he's playing Dot, which keeps IIO. Not a great leave. He's going for the score right here. I
As
mean,
far as
I think
points
it's,
go, I mean, it's
yeah,
pretty hard to deny the pure scoring power of that. So,
exactly. Yeah.
one of the things for those who are watching that maybe are looking to um, work their way up even more is as we work up, we're all taught as far as rack balancing, how on average, when you have better combinations of letters together, in general, the idea is that if you can create more possibilities in the future while scoring, then your average score goes up in the long term. Having said that, players at this level, who are expected to have exceptionally strong word knowledge, um, will sometimes just default to playing what scores regardless because of their belief in their word knowledge and that they will find something even with clunkier combinations sometimes, which lends to playing plays like Dodd despite the leaves not being as ideal. We are seeing in this case that Alex pull following Dodd is not ideal as he gets another eye and we're seeing the rest. So Weibin, now that we're seeing endures come down quickly, um, Alec is in a bit of a bind.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. It looks like quite an exchange kind of rack to me. But he might still play on. I mean, he has MOI arranged on his rack, which goes quite nicely under endures. He can still, there is still chance of picking up some consonants and maybe even a bingo. But yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you keep IIO. Sometimes you pick another I and the Y, which, Y's and I's aren't that friendly. So, um, and we also see in the chat some suggestions, MOAI, idiom. Uh, idiom looks interesting, actually. I mean, gets rid of two of his three I's. So, um, he looks like he's going to play MOI. He has it in his fingers. Um, scores 20. He has MOI on his yeah, of his rack. Thinking it's 26 points. Idiom is 8 fewer points, and he decides to go with MOI. Yeah, I think it's all right to play in this in for this turn. I think it makes sense. He yeah, he still has a decent chance of drawing a bingo. And now Austin's turn. He has Gajo set up. What do you think he's gonna do, Jesse?
So this is really interesting to me. I'm just thinking through. Alec after playing MOI. I think talking a bit about that, to be fair, Alec is just to give strategic insight, because I know you talked a bit about it, and that we'll get back to Austin. But I think with Alec, part of what you're doing here is MOI allows him to score. He didn't really have a scoring opportunity on top of Endurers to use that triple word score. So he's not really blocking, but he's also making it less favorable for Austin to score easily using the triple word score, while Alec is still playing along, trying to keep up with score and hopefully balance out in the future. So there's a few reasons why he did that, just to talk about MOI. And now over to Austin, like you said, he's got Gajo set up. It's a very nice scoring play as one option. I'm just looking. I don't have anything open here to help me, so I'm just looking with my own human slow board vision to see if I have anything that would go and compete with Gajo. Because just looking at that, I do like that a lot uh, as an option. Uh, Gajo on the side there or below. Yeah, Noah, Gajo to me just looks really good. It scores decently enough. It takes out a very obvious spot with the S as far as ways for Alec to come back easily. Like it's again not blocking. It's just happens to restrict the use of that S and raisins as a lane while also scoring for himself. And I mean his rack is not going to be really all that balanced here no matter what, but it just still scores relatively nicely uh, and is somewhat balanced. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean it's the right position to play Gajo. I mean the other option was to play it beside Dot, but that's not required at this juncture. I mean he's ahead. He wants to restrict the board as much as he can. And at the same time, I mean, keeping MOA is it's not the best of leads, but it's uh, one of the best leads he can have in that position, I think. So Gajo, I think, pretty clear best play. Um, and now back to Alec, and Alec really his tiles have deteriorated even more. He's picked up more vowels. He's looking at playing YOU, which honestly I think um, still gives him some chances, right? Because you keep A, E, I. You if you pick up consonants, you might actually get a bingo. So he does it in a quite a quite a provocative spot, I would say. I mean, the K is unseen, so YOU takes a K behind, and I think what he's doing is really, you know, opening up the board, uh, opening up another line, right? The line below YOU, and kind of threatening also, like, telling Austin that I might have one of those big cows. I might have the K. What are you going to do about it? And I don't know, what would you do if if your opponent played YOU in this position, Jesse?
As you mentioned, I would be immediately thinking about best and worst case scenarios, both for myself, but also for my opponent. I'd be thinking, well, what's the worst that could happen after this? And as you mentioned, the K is one of the worst case scenarios that doesn't involve a bingo in this case. So I have to be thinking at this point that it's possible. Uh, the other possibility is just that besides YOU, maybe there's something like our some kind of favorable vowel, like maybe an A or an E on his rack, and that he's relatively balanced. OU takes an R or a T, hook on the bottom, 4 7s. So I can see there's lots, if I'm looking at this from Austin's point of view, there's lots of possibilities for what my opponent could have, either a relatively balanced rack that hooks onto OU, or the threat of something like a K that's being held back for one turn. There's multiple possibilities because when you look at the score, Alec is down by essentially a 50-point bonus. So any bingo here really gets him level, or a play with the K without bingoing gets him level. So I'm thinking about both and wondering which of the two is more likely. Um, and that's where I look at the player's history of what they've just done for the last couple of turns. So Dodd has gone down, then MOY, then YOU. So I'm looking and seeing that the last couple of turns, there seems to be more vowel challenges that my opponent has, and there's been one higher scoring tile played on average, while lower scoring ones and more recently vowels have been played. So I'm thinking that K is possible, but more often than not, I would say it's more likely that they have lower counting tiles that could blend decently well together, hypothetically. So in a best case scenario, I'm looking to play below YOU and score relatively well and limit my opponent's options based on what I have. And that's not
Yeah,
the easiest, as we can see here with what he's got, but I'll put it back to you. That's my couple of thoughts about what's going on here.
exactly. Yeah, like I mean, ideally you would have something to block both I mean, both the bingo line that has just been opened as well as the K, potential of K. But if you look at what Austin has, you really don't have much that you can do to block that line. Like, I mean, he doesn't have anything that goes below OU. So and I think he has limited tiles that go below the JO as well. So that's gonna make his decision quite difficult. And I think that's quite interesting in this position because I think it was mentioned on the chat that the simulation prefers YOU on the left of hairline, beside the A, I, and U and R. But you can see that in this position, it's a human versus human kind of position, right? So when a human plays YOU in this position, it scores more, and it also gives like I don't know, telegraphs like something is I might be trying out something in this position potentially. And Austin's probably, the question is, will Austin react to this in some way? Is he gonna overreact? Oh, he doesn't seem to be doing anything in that position. So he's not even uh, bothered about it. So I just want to add that in this position, actually, if I am running a simulation as well, um, the best play, according to the engine, appears to be playing Gave, uh, GAVE, hooking onto AYE, right? The AY that was just formed. And playing Gave sets up an A front hook for Agave. So that's just an interesting nugget there for that last play right there.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So gave, I would imagine it's just because of the relative lack of A's left, and Austin would have one of them. We know, of course, that Alec does have one as well, but wouldn't be scoring much with it. So that interesting from the engine to go with gave. That I can see that. I can definitely see that. Lots of discussion in the chat about different moves. A move and a have were mentioned, and indeed gave, as discussed with the engine, simulated high because of the hook to make a have. um, in the future. Move was mentioned as well in that spot. Yeah, there's definitely been a few, yeah, some really good discussion here about different potential options. Uh, yeah, speaking of, we mentioned Lindsay a little bit earlier. I see Lindsay Shin is in the chat. Good morning, Lindsay. How are
Hey,
you?
Lindsay.
Nice to see you.
Welcome. Welcome, Lindsay. Wow. Uh, yeah, so we're getting more viewers streaming in. Once again, this is Let's Play Scrabble, showing the Collins stream of the Scrabble Players Championship. We are watching this match between Alec Sjoholm and Austin Shin, and it's been very interesting game. I think, and very strategic. And I think I honestly wouldn't know what to do if I were in Alec's shoes as well. Do you play short? Do you play long? Do you play off your E? I it's gonna be quite difficult, I think. What do you think you would do in this position? Will you play just IO, or would you do something like Olive, Lovey, through the V of Vigo?
This is a really tough one, right? Because as as a human, I'm thinking about my last couple of turns playing MOI and YOU, with really, really junk, quite frankly, and also being
Yeah,
behind. And the human side of me is like, okay, my rack is okay now, but I'm also very behind. So it's kind of this battle of, should I just fish essentially and play something short because something like OI or AI is a decent combination of 5 letters. I'm thinking that versus, but I'm also very behind, so scoring something and maybe blowing up my rack in the process could be the right answer too. But that's the kind of the thing here is there's not really many scoring options, when you look at ways to blow up your rack. Aeolian, it looks like Alec was considering off of the A and hairlines to play all the way over to the right. I believe that is one of the leading options if you do blow up your rack. Uh, I do wonder if that's the way to go in this case, because it would leave him an I. And then I think about what does that I do on this board as far as opportunities? It doesn't really do anything directly.
he
I
can
think,
play
yeah.
Aeolian. He can play Aeolian beside raisins as well. So opening up the six letter Aeolian.
Oh, going
Uh,
down from the right side of it. I see. Yes. No, that is
yeah,
that is a good play in that case, just because it does create space and open the board. I mean, OU does have the hooks, but Aeolian would, of course, open up the triple lane and creates further volatility. That is a decent option as far as playing longer. But otherwise, if you're going for a short play, then some variation involving OI would be my preference if I were to play short. It's interesting choices here.
yeah, I would say that in this position, I mean, I am running a simulation and looking at what's the top option and all that, but I think there's only so much the computer can tell you, right? Because once again, you are playing against a human that tends to be, I mean, if the human is leading in this position, it tends to want to block a little bit more than a computer would. So so I think I think you want to play and make sure that you still have space, right, in the next move and maybe even next 2 or 3 moves. And that's what he's doing. He is trying to create some space for himself, make it challenging for Austin to block the board. And he plays Aeoli. Quite a strong, yeah, quite a strong choice, I think. Um, and hopefully, I mean, he's hoping to draw an S, hoping to draw a K as well. Just getting rid of more letters. So I will say that on simulation, the top move appears to be IO below Vago, right? Just the I below AI and G, the A and G of Vago. But I think that doesn't do much for the board, and I'm not sure if yeah, I'm not sure if that's good play against humans.
Yeah, like you mentioned, there's the machine element of playing, there's the human element of what a human's going to do and react to after playing. something like IO below Vagel, because it is a very balanced leave when you do something like that. And like you mentioned, keeping the board open would be very key here when you're behind, as Alec is in this case. So I'd be looking, if it were me, like, okay, well, what opportunity do I have after this in a best case scenario? And playing below YOU in some way, uh, playing to the right side of raisins in some way, or off the H and hairlines. I can see an argument for IO just because there are still a number of spaces to play. But as you mentioned, you after another turn or two, if you don't hit your fish, then it gets exceedingly difficult to even score, much less bingo to keep up. So yeah, there's lots to discuss there, certainly, as far as options. Ioli is definitely was a nice enough play, but with all of the ease in the bag as well, that was kind of what I was thinking as a challenge for Alec. But in this case, he's also picked the X, so he will get to um, unload it, and he's not worried about playing both his E's just because, as I mentioned, there's lots in the bag. I like to play. Xert is nice. He's okay with losing that A and I to play through just because it scores so much. It still has the H open and there's still a fair bit of space, while scoring. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think you're looking at the good letters in the bag, and you just maybe you're just hoping that you will pick some of them. Like I think in this case, some of them really help you a lot, like the Y with if you have Joey, the K, YOUK. There is a lot of potential. There are also quite a few not the best tiles, I guess. Like the queue is still unseen. But I think when you're behind, you need to give yourself some opportunities, and you need to sometimes hope to draw well. So EXEAT playing off a few more letters. The E's, still many E's in the back, blanks in the back, Z's in the back. All these are unseen to you, so um, I think it's a good choice.
So 30-point game after that, and we do see that Alec has pulled a blank in this case. So promising for him to make a run at coming back here. Austin, in the meantime, has got some nice scoring tiles on his rack. And what do we know is Austin's moniker or his slogan? We know the scoring never stops, right? So he's gotten himself some opportunities to keep that scoring up. I see Blaze has been mentioned in the chat, several variations on Blaze.
Yeah,
Are,
Blaze is probably. I mean, it doesn't take an S, so it's definitely pretty strong option here. You are opening an E for potentially an eighth line, but I think the score is 40 points. It brings you up quite a lot, and I think yeah, I mean you might be thinking of keeping the board closed and all that, but I think in this position, um, if your opponent lands a bingo hooking onto AOLs or from the edge of hairlines, it's yeah, your lead is not gonna be you're gonna lose your lead. So I think you just need to score as well. And Blaze also blocks the K potential K line from the K hook of YOU. So that also helps quite a bit. Yeah. Um,
Lots of points that lend itself well to making the play of Blaze with the eye. What Austin's not going to know is that it will give Alec a bingo, multiple options actually, on his next turn. And somewhat ironically, if you're Austin, you're thinking, oh, there's so many E's, it's not really going to be all that big of a deal if I throw one out there, because from his point of view, his opponent probably doesn't need an E. But as it turns out, that's exactly what he needs based on his rack. So it should be very interesting to see the next couple of turns here.
yeah. Uh, don't know. He doesn't have his letter set up in that way yet. What do you think he's thinking? Uh, I mean, I know Zebek is a five on his rack, but that doesn't play anywhere.
It
Um,
looks like he's looking at Sesve through the V inveigle as an option.
I
That
see.
would be very interesting here.
Yeah, I mean, he is looking at the number of E's in the bag, right? And so he can play Sesve. It's not a bad play, I think. I mean, yeah, scores, which is what he needs. Um, keeps it tight, I think. I mean, with the L, it's in that position. I think it's tough to bingo as well. But once again, I mean, the threat for him is not so much of the L, but more of the AoE hook as well as um, the age of the hairline. And yeah, I mean, there's also a line actually beside dot, right? The ID of raisins and dot. His opponent can potentially bingo from there. So he's playing Sesve. I think a slight inaccuracy in my point from my point of view, but yeah, it's works out well for him, I think, in this situation.
And Rebecca has mentioned that it's a Turkish word, so that's true. The Turkish orthography is certainly not one of my strengths. So apparently it is pronounced more like a J. I would assume it's a J kind of sound. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Rebecca. So that would make it like a jizve, something like this. But please let me know. I am open to learning. But now I know it's that Turkish coffee pot. That's fun. And yes, I would love some Turkish coffee as well, Akrater. Yes, I agree.
Oh, definitely. Um, not much of a coffee drinker, but it is 10 p.m. where I am, so
So it would help you stay awake for sure. How do you feel
yes,
about
yes.
Luwak coffee? I'm gonna be controversial here. Have you
Well,
ever had it?
have I ever had it? I've been in a place where I was offered it, but I don't remember actually trying it. No, I think uh, yeah, a little bit too. Maybe I had a mouthful, I think. Yeah, it tasted like coffee. Yeah, not a connoisseur, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's closer to home for you literally than it is for me. But I have had it once just to say that I did. Uh, and I
Yeah.
liked it, but I have my preference. I am a bit of a coffee snob myself, I must say. And I do really, really like Colombian coffee beans in particular. So I got to go to Colombia for my 40th birthday earlier this year and had a wonderful time sampling all sorts of coffee and being stupidly caffeinated and awake for too many hours in the day.
And
Here we go.
and not Luwak coffee and oh wow, nice turn of events in the game. Austin picks up the K, plays Kali, and I think in probably in his mind and many people's mind, when you play Kali, you expose the eye in that way. You don't expect your opponent to play bingo to the triple and hooking onto AoEs. And that's exactly what Alec has done to bring the game within 15 points in spirit. Very quick play and wow, yeah, it's amazing. Amazing play from Alec to catch up. And I think even Kali Kali looks like the right player as well. So just a little bit unlucky for Austin.
Yeah, I mean, like when you think from a human point of view, playing Kina or any other variation of the forest that he had there doesn't seem right. You know, Kali looks right because of what's coming in the bag. So, I mean, it just, like you said, it is very unfortunate for Austin that it played out that way, but he, I don't think he can really beat himself up for making that play, honestly. An eye at the bottom doesn't really seem like something that gives scoring back. Now we look at the bag ratio from Austin's point of view, 12 consonants to 4 vowels. That that's horrific as far as what you're thinking to do. But also, this is where pre-end game strategy really comes in handy because you're thinking, okay, I don't have much to draw here, but neither does my opponent. My opponent has a random rack. When you're thinking from Austin's point of view, as far as what's out there. So, um, interestingly, Austin is not going to know that of those 4 vowels, Alec already has 3 of them. From his point of view, more often than not, his opponent's going to have little to no vowels. So what Austin's thinking here is that the vowels on the board, especially ones that lend themselves to helping him or his opponent score, are crucial. As we get into the pre-end game here. So Austin's going to be considering plays that do well with the consonants that he does have that ideally limit the number of vowels that his opponent has available, because neither player needs a bingo right now as much as it's ideal. It becomes ever important to score with the higher scoring tiles that you have. You don't really make plays hoping for a bingo here in most cases. You're really trying to outrun. So what do you think, keeping that in mind for Austin, as far as ways that he can help himself outrun?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is, yeah, I mean, he seems to be approaching it now from a point of view of blocking some of the more dangerous kind of lines and spots, and I think in this case, this is a potential scoring area for Alec. Um, what I think what I would have considered also is just trying to maybe just play some consonants off and trying to get some small score somewhere. I think I would be quite worried about the consonants, the number of consonants in the back, the unseen consonants in it. And I think like if you on simulation, yeah, actually quite a few of I don't know a lot of interesting things that are appearing on simulation. But one of the things that I was thinking of is just playing two of your Fs off. Um, something like AFF, keeping something quite balanced. Uh, and also, if you have the Q, if you pick the Q, you have QAT below. So that's one possible option. But it's very tough because you really have to. I mean, you're only like 15 points ahead. If you play just AFF, it scores 14 points. Might not be enough as well. So there's a lot to think about in that turn. And yeah, it's challenging move.
So we're seeing in the chat mention of potential cue sticks. So from Alec's point of view, just because we have to switch between points of view here, Austin has just played tab, which blocks two of the three spots to play a cue on the board. Alec has a majority of the remaining vowels, including a very important U. So he has to be thinking that Austin didn't have the Q on that turn and is blocking obvious Q spots. He doesn't know that Austin's picked it up, but he's got to be thinking about the possibility of himself drawing the Q. And if so, how does he remain safe and able to play? He is safe due to having U and two E's from basically any Q draw. So after he thinks about that, he thinks, okay, what about my opponent drawing the Q in this case? So there's some very interesting dialogue we have in the chat about thinking about blocking QIS. And that's fair enough. But if Austin continues to score, even if he does have the Q at some point, then maybe he'll still barely win. So Alec has to ponder whether blocking that spot, if he's thinking about it, is worth any point sacrifice relative to what he could score instead of blocking that spot. So, with that in mind, thinking about scoring options here that he has to keep up, I'm not seeing anything really, really obvious. I mean, alongside the right side of Jezve is kind of an easy way to score with low scoring tiles. But what are you thinking, Weibin, as far as things that score for Alec and allow him to maybe eke this one out with a Q stick?
Yeah, I mean, probably from a very human standpoint, I would just think of playing parallel to the I don't know how to pronounce this CSW word, right? And just picking up close to 20 points, like neat or TAD, something like that, just to play off tiles and score. I would be careful. I think I would be careful playing too many letters as well because um oh, he is playing ET. Yeah, so he is going all in on the Q stick. Very interesting choice. Yeah, because so basically I think what Alec is doing is he's pretty confident that he will be able to play off the Q if he picks it up, and he's thinking that maybe Austin has picked it up and I'm gonna block it. Like, or if Austin picks it up in subsequent turns, I'm just not gonna give him a spot for it. And he plays ET. So
So
I think yeah, very smart choice by Alec.
yeah, so the interesting thing here now is we know based on what's in the pool that, barring some mistake from Alec, which is unlikely given his skill, it's a matter of time before a cue stick happens. So Austin, I think Austin knows how skilled Alec is as a player. So if we switch back to Austin's point of view here, he has to start thinking, how can I outrun this, to make a cue stick irrelevant? It becomes extremely important for him to keep up his scoring, knowing that he's going to be losing essentially 20 points with the cue. So it's really important that he keeps on scoring to make it as close to irrelevant as possible. But it's a tall order on this board, especially because we know that vowels are not coming for either of the players at this point. It's all consonants coming. Neither of them know that 100% right now, but that's what we know for sure is coming here. So what are some scoring options? And uh, if you look below MOUE and IU, there is a way to score there, but you're also giving scoring opportunities back where only one vowel is needed. And even one vowel is precious right now. So it's definitely a really sticky, interesting scenario here as far as what Austin could and should do. Neef has been mentioned in the chat as far as a scoring option that can be used here. And yeah, uh, hard to turn something like that down. How are you feeling, Weibin, about scoring choices?
Yeah, I mean it takes a lot of guts to play something like Neve as well because you're playing off two of your only vowels and basically you're at the mercy of the bag right after that. So I can see why Austin is really hesitating on this. Even though you're like 30 points up, right? Uh, your opponent's just gonna play slow and just gonna start emptying the bag. And I mean, not start sticking your cue and just play off slowly. So I think like if you play Neve, you get the points quickly, but you're gonna face some trouble later. I think you might wanna play slowly. I think in this case, uh, my that's probably what I would do in this case. I think in this case, does Neve also empty the bag? We have 11 unseen tiles. Yeah, it does. So I think all the more I would not play Neve.
I think in a
Yeah.
perfect world, if you're going to be playing any number of vowels, I would say one at the most, unless you just have something that's just exceptionally higher scoring. I think one at the most would be what I play here. Um, Interestingly, I'm thinking about, well, Austin has the case S. He has both Fs. So I'm looking at something like ways where he can give himself a couple of turns of scoring, like maybe dropping the F off of the I in raisins at some point in time to create the hook of if with a second F, just to I don't know if it's right to play it right now, but he's starting to look for things like that where he can create scoring opportunities on the board for himself. Uh, since, as we know, Alec will slow play as far as playing off one or two tiles at a time to maximize his score. So Austin can be doing the same, in his case in this board. And at some point, I do think it might involve some form of if. That would be a very complicated end game to run through an engine, but I think that could help him in some way. I'm thinking out loud here as I look for ways for him to keep on scoring, ideally not using vowels or just one. And that would be one way I can see. But do you see any others, Wavin?
Yeah, I don't know, like it's very challenging kind of position, I think. It I think in this position, I mean what I would just try to do is just not empty the bag. I think it's gonna be quite yeah, it's I mean I mean, I think you still want to give Alec the thought that, maybe the queue is still unseen. Maybe I will still pick it up. So you still want him to kind of budget for that. And I think emptying the bag is, yeah, gonna be, um,
Oh,
yeah,
Austin
I
has a
think it,
very nice
yeah.
play next turn. He's got two nice ones, Incy and Newsy. There's some nice underlapping plays
Oh
that
wow.
will help him immensely in this case. Probably the only case where using lots of letters is actually helpful here, just because it's a massive score.
Wow. Oh, that's yeah, that's a quite a good pickup, I think. But wonder whether Alec will see it and he will block it. Looks like he might be putting his letters somewhere around there. He probably has seen that the spot. Yeah, he probably has seen the spot. So I think he's doing it. He's blocking it. Right choice.
So glad to block that spot. That's solid play from him. Uh, he's also going to know that he's not giving any cue play here. He's not giving up anything that's obvious in the long term. Uh, he's thinking about scoring options with the Y and or the W involving that G, and there really isn't much of anything. He's okay with that. But oddly enough, Alec has now got a V. He won't be V stuck, but he's going to have, to take his time. He already knew he was going to be taking his time to play off letters, but the V just makes it a bit more complicated because it's not something you can usually play off as one. VAR in this case is the exception where playing off a one tile V play is going to score him some. Austin's now got to think about how to outrun, knowing officially that yeah, well, he knew before, but he certainly knows now he's not going to get to play the cue and he's just got to score. So Wenge, as mentioned in the chat, that certainly accomplishes a fair bit of scoring. And then slow playing with Joey and Joey's perhaps, or is Joey and then an S somewhere else. So he's scoring well, and I think should be able to edge this out.
Yeah, I think. I think interestingly enough. And this really is about like going back a few turns and all that. So I think it goes back to Austin's play of AFF as well, right? And I think one thing that it achieves is it plays just two tiles out of four unseen tiles. So if you go to Alex's turn, he has two unseen letters in the bag, and actually playing one tile to block the Newsy, or Newsy or Winsy, is probably not going to be enough for him to win. So he has to empty the bag, and he has to pick up two tiles, and that he picked up two consonants, and I think that really um, gave Austin an advantage, right? Austin was lucky to pick W and Y. I think it's been mentioned in chat, but I think playing slow in that position really um, gave him the win here. And I think that was a critical play in my point of view, from my point of view.
Lindsay's given some insight from some of the kids. Penny saying Austin never wins on stream anymore. It's like, well, I think he has this time. It's a very close one. The WY draw being key. AFF, I certainly can't fault him for that, just given that it kept his vowels there. Uh, that would be very interesting to run through many plies, as far as analyzing in an end game. It's really hard for this one just because the human factor. Yeah, that WY pull is absolutely crucial in this case for him. I can't really point to any turning point here, because it was so fascinating just to see that the Q stick was known. And credit to Alec for playing ET. I'm not going to say early, but earlier than perhaps a lot of players would have looked. He went in there. But I think the downside to playing ET is if your opponent gets reasonably lucky, and we saw that Austin did, they can still outrun just because Alec was down by a fair bit. And that's how we're seeing this play out.
Yeah, I think TAB also by Austin was one of the interesting plays as well. I mean, from my point of view, I think the Q is pretty. I mean, if Alec has the Q and that line actually isn't that dangerous for him. Uh, isn't that dangerous for Austin? But if Austin picked up the Q himself, he could have played Q18 in that same spot. So so it's an interesting choice to play TAB. My sense is that he was probably thinking of blocking something else, maybe not just the Q, maybe yeah, something more dangerous.